Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. I've got a fun unboxing episode planned for you guys today. So, the topic of today's episode is guitars I forgot I had. The story I wanted to share with this thing more comes down to the strange scenarios of how I had to get this thing. So these things were part of Fender's, I believe it was the Parallel Universe, back in 2019. You could never find these things in stock. As soon as they would come out, they would sell out. So naturally, even though these were only $500 brand new, they are way more expensive than that on the used market. I mean, some guys are starting to ask $1,500 plus on these things. And I certainly had no issues getting $1,000 on the past ones that I've sold. So this one actually came to me from Japan. There was one of those brokers that I've talked about before in this episode right here. He had a shop in Japan that he could get these from still, so I ordered two from him. And then he shipped them by EMS. And at this point in time, EMS was not in service for the US because of all the COVID stuff. So when he shipped it that way, I was like, what? Are you sure you can even do that? So what ended up happening is the tracking number never ended up updating on this. So naturally, I thought, okay, maybe he's just a scammer, not a broker, because he was only using some other dealer's stock photos. So it was totally possible, right? But yet here I have it yet today. So I ended up buying two of them from this guy, and since none of the tracking numbers were updating, I just figured he was a scammer. So I had a PayPal case open on the one that I purchased on Reverb, and then I purchased a second one from him. Just, at that point I was like, okay, I'm buying two guitars from you. I might as well deal direct, right? Because it wasn't necessarily listed on its Reverb shop or anything. So PayPal ended up siding with me on one of them, and then the other one, I decided just to wait it out. So it was kind of a strange situation here, because only one of them ever showed up, and here I am almost a year after ordering these things. So I still paid for one of them, but the other one was refunded, and I don't know. It was shipped by sea mail. That's what happened. So this was, in a saltwater ship for a while. I mean, it was all boxed up, but you can see some corrosion on the strings. So I just thought I'd share that strange tale with you guys. These things are getting very difficult to find, but here we go. Fiesta Red. Sadly, the other one was blue. It's probably in the ocean somewhere. That's all I can guess. You can check out the full review and demos here. I had all the colors, I believe, for that review and demo. If not, I've definitely had them all within the unboxing series. But what makes these things interesting is it's a 4-string guitar. It's a tenor guitar. And ever since I learned about these things, I started to learn about like the vintage tenor guitars. Like there are high-end Gibson tenors out there. There's not a huge following for tenor guitars, but there are some instrumentalists that just love these things. So, I mean, I think it's fun to have. I mean, it definitely makes you think of the guitar a different way, but I'm always really happy to get one of these things in because they're just so quirky and strange. And before we continue our unboxing journey today, we have a sponsor today, Donner. You can check them out at donnerdeal.com. This time, they have asked me to check out their 2-inch foams. So just like last time, they come all compressed like this. And you have a few different options to restore them back to their size. You can either wait, 24 to 48 hours, or you can rinse them in water and dry them off. But even compressed, I can already tell this is way thicker. Like it's nearly the same size as the 1-inch uncompressed. So let's go ahead and restore this. And now look at this thing. Yeah, that actually looks like a pretty professional product. Now the only downside to getting one that's twice the size of the 1-inch is it's a little bit more expensive. But Donner's got you covered no matter what size you want. So if you don't have a huge budget, go ahead and get yourself the 1-inchers. Or if you just need it for like the aesthetic look, you like the look of these acoustic foams, but you don't necessarily need the treatment. But I think for my money, if I was going to invest in putting all this stuff in, I'd probably go the 2 inches. This just feels like a much higher quality product. But it all just depends on your own needs. So if you're interested in checking Donner products out, you can find them on donnerdeal.com. Thank you, Donner, for sponsoring today's episode. Let's continue on with some unboxings. But our next little topic today, this thing. You'll notice the box is already open because I completely forgot I even bought this. So I had to open it to figure out what it was. But then when I finally got it out, I was like, oh my goodness, how could I forget getting this thing? So we go from tiny guitar to like obnoxiously big SG case. So let's go ahead and figure out what model guitar it is in here. So the whole story behind this is I saw it on Reverb one day, and despite not being original, I love these guitars so much. And that model we're talking about is the SG Baritone, man. Despite the swappity-swapped pickups, kind of the yellowed over headstock, the value on these things have just been going crazy. And it's because they're so unique. I mean, they are oversized baritone guitars. So if I'm remembering correctly, these are 27 inches. I could be wrong on that. Check out my full review and demo for more in-depth, well-researched information. But I do believe that's the case on this one. There are Gibson baritones that are also 28 inches if you prefer the bigger scale lengths. But this was just one of these that was used. I figured you don't see these things too often. And now the market has been so crazy. Like, I bought this, pre-COVID crazy market pricing. So that's great. It's just a nice little guitar to have. And this one's all set up with the super heavy baritone string. So when I had first opened this, I was strumming it and just going, wow. That's such a nice deep tone. Now, I normally play my baritones with regular strings, so that was just kind of like a whole new world. Like, that's what baritones are kind of meant for. And I swear, I didn't even plan this, but a baritone next to a tenor Tele, that's just beautiful. Little baby Telecaster with Big Papa SG. Oh yeah. Oh, and in case you are interested in being the next owner of this one, it looks like I've got the original pickup in the bridge, the original white knobs, plastic, the nut's been replaced. That's all in there. And one latch is broken there. Next up in our little adventure today, this one doesn't have a box because I bought it from a local friend of mine who likes to, just have guitars. He goes through a whole bunch of these things. He likes to try new ones. And this was an instrument that he just picked up. He thought it was nice, but wanted to try something else. And he wanted to sell it to me. So that guitar in here that I forgot I bought like 8 months ago was a ES335. So the reason why this one got lost was because it was thrown in with all my other guitars that were either waiting to be reviewed, that had already been unboxed, something along the lines of that. But this is a beautiful 335. Not only does it have the nicely figured top, the gorgeous tobacco sunburst finish here, it's also got it all on the back too. And I'll be honest, this is a really chunky 335 as far as 335s go. It looks like something might have been done to the wiring though, because like I hear some sort of a wire moving around in there. But check this out. I don't think I saw that when I bought this. Jeez. 335s generally have like a lightly figured side, but this is very intense. Wow. Like there's a lot of stand rash on this one. The red down here, it looks like a little bit of a lacquer bubbling right here where the seam line goes together. This is heavy, but it's from that beautiful time period of Gibson history, 2003. The early 2000s had such fantastic wood on it. And this one is definitely no exception. So this thing needs a good cleanup. It's definitely aired out a little bit since I first saw it, because that guitar guy, he is a smoker. So if you're allergic to smoke and all that, you probably don't want to buy this guitar. I mean, I'm not noticing it too much right now, but it's definitely something that's part of its history. But man, it's all about the sides on this one. That is crazy. Who knows? Maybe I'll have to throw this one in my to-be-reviewed pile. I mean, that is very nice. But if you want to buy it from me, you can check it out on my website, troglysguitarshow.com. That's where I list stuff first. If it doesn't sell within a month, then I'll throw it on Reverb. It's either that or I'll get around to reviewing it. And our last tale to share today has to do with me never using FedEx ever again. Okay, so this is a new Guitar Day purchase. And Sweetwater is only about an hour from me. It doesn't matter if you use FedEx or UPS. It is a guaranteed overnight service just for their ground service because of how close we are together, right? This thing took 2.5 weeks. Like, come on, FedEx. I mean, you've got to be kidding me with this stuff. I know there's labor shortages and whatnot, but 2.5 weeks? For for something like this. But anyways, let's see if we can get this guitar out so I can get it sent out to its rightful owner who's been waiting forever for this thing. And the biggest kicker is, you know, UPS and everything's still delivering on time, so now I have my Sweetwater account switched over to only UPS shipments for good reason. But anyways, here we go. Gretsch. Let's go ahead and check this thing out. So, it's just a beautiful blue Gretsch guitar here. Generally, with new Guitar Day purchases, I limit them around $1,000. Anything that's under that price point, unless I really want to review the guitar anyways, I'll just unbox it on the show. So that's one of the categories for this one. But what is kind of cool about this, and if I had more time with it, I might have done a review, is the fact that we've got, you know, like the Alnico 5 staple pickups in here. I'm not sure what magnets they used in this particular one. But, you know, the staple pickups that we see on 54 Les Paul Customs and the style like that. So this is a very cool, nice and shiny guitar here. Beautiful, beautiful finish. It reminds me of that Epiphone, how it has that nice darker, kind of Pelham-like blue finish, whereas the Gibson USA version was much brighter. I never noticed it till I started to look at this more. The dot inlays are actually oval inlays. That's kind of cool. This guitar's got some class. Now, thankfully, it doesn't look like this thing got damaged or had any finish checking or anything like that. So it looks like we are okay to move on with this, so I can get it to him because he's been waiting long enough. But let's do a couple of strums. That Bigsby feels pretty nice. And one more quick note here before we say goodbye. He also wanted a hard shell case for this one, so I picked him up one of there. Unfortunately, Sweetwater was out of them, but we do have it right here. And he asked that I give him the candy, so here you go, man. It's in here. And let's just hope this guitar fits after all that. And it does. Not the tightest fit in the world, but good enough to say that it fits. Have you noticed that we stopped doing the packing up of guitars? It's mainly just because I couldn't find a good new area to do it, as I can't hang my GoPro from the ceiling here like I used to be able to. So I think we'll just, you know, go ahead and talk about the ending story of the guitars. So this one is the DJ Ashba guitar. Very rare. I actually had somebody reach out to me that knows of DJ and has talked to him. And he said that there were less than 100 of these things made, and he owns like 5 or 6 of them, and he won't sell them to anybody for less than $10,000. Now, the market doesn't necessarily command 10,000, but it didn't take me too long to get, I think I listed this one at what, 45, something close to that. And as a correction here, the reason why this looks strange is because that's not how it's supposed to be on. This is supposed to be upside down because then it follows the curve of the black on the headstock. So that's the reason why that's upside down. But this one, funnily enough, so we go from importing this back to the US and now it's going to a non-US address to Thailand. Now it's going through a forwarding service, so I'm just shipping it down to Florida. But it's actually going to a different guitar dealer. Maybe he has a client in mind, or he's just a fan of Ashba. But that is the ending tale on this one. Time to ship it off. Our next one to say goodbye to here is one that unfortunately did not get a full review and demo. We just unboxed these guys together. This is the SG Custom, part of the 60th anniversary run from 1971. Technically still a Les Paul Custom at this point in time, but it was a very cool guitar. It's just I kind of ran out of time, and I did so many guitars that were so similar to this one. At the time that this came in, my motivation to review the same guitar was kind of low, but sweet guitar, awesome sideways vibrola, looks cool. Not my favorite as far as functionality, but man, that's a nice looking guitar. Next up here, we have the Berries and Cream Les Paul Special. It found a great new home. I had a really good time documenting this guitar. I'm really excited to see what else they might use a similar finish on in the future from the mod shop here. So, kind of a fun story behind this one. It's actually going to join a different guitar that somebody had purchased from me. It was that P90R9. I don't think I ever did a full review and demo on it, but it became this new owner of the Berries and Cream Special, his #1. So he wanted to add this one. It'll make his collection look a little bit fruitier. And lastly, I received so much hate for my asking price on this guitar. But you guys have to understand, as soon as this thing is gone, you won't be able to get it back. They only made 19. There was such a big hype around these. They're ultra cool. Sure, they released a modern day release that's only $10,000. That's not aged, doesn't have the Brazilian rosewood fretboard. But yep, I found a buyer for my 1958 Explorer Collector's Edition reissue. And I told myself, if I get my price on this guitar, knowing that I will never get one of these things again and how cool it is, I would pursue a different guitar that, you know, it was so expensive I couldn't really justify it, but now I've got the funds that, yeah, I think I'm gonna go after something truly historical. Like, this is a cool piece. If you've got so much money that you can own a bunch of really cool historical models, this is one to have. But there's another one that's, you know, a little bit more within my realm of guitars that I normally like. So even though I'm saying goodbye to a highly collectible guitar today, I know it's going to a good home. He's a professional within the music industry. I think I will get a guitar that is just as cool, if not even cooler. But it stinks that this thing sold when it did, because those new 10K versions, I was going to do a video where we compare them side by side to the aged and signed with Brazilian rosewood fretboards. At this time, I still have the Flying V, so, I mean, it might be possible that we can at least do it for the Vs yet. I'll at least unbox those other ones so we can see them, but I have to say goodbye to my beautifully aged one of 19. Farewell, my friend. All right, troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed today's episode's tales and stories. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.